Welcome to another Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable episode. I'm your host, Dr. Dan, and today we delve into a theme that resonates deeply within our community, LGBTQ+ representation in media and its evolution over the years. We'll journey through its evolution and its significant role in shaping societal perceptions and attitudes. In our historical overview, we'll travel back in time to understand the origins and transformation of queer representation in media, from stereotypical portrayals to rich, nuanced narratives. Then, in real-life experiences, we'll share poignant fictional stories that illustrate the deep impact of media representation on individuals' lives. These narratives highlight the importance of seeing oneself reflected in the media. Moving forward, our Tools and Resources segment will spotlight 7 exceptional shows and films authentically representing the LGBTQ+ experience, showcasing how diverse storytelling can enlighten and inspire. Finally, in the Future Outlook, we'll discuss Safe Schools initiatives and our vision for the future of LGBTQ+ representation, emphasizing the need for continued progress in diverse genres and spaces. From the small screens in our living rooms to the vast expanse of digital media, representation has been a powerful tool in shaping perceptions and attitudes. Studies have shown that exposure to queer characters in media can significantly increase acceptance and understanding. It's not just about being seen, it's about the quality of this visibility. Queer representation does more than just combat stereotypes. It normalizes and validates the existence of diverse sexualities and gender identities. It's crucial for our community, especially those still finding their place in the world, to see reflections of themselves in stories being told. But it's not just about the present. The true power lies in how these stories are told and how diverse and intersectional these representations are. As we explore this theme, let's remember that representation matters, not just in the quantity, but in the quality and diversity of the shared narratives. Now, I'd like to give a moment for our esteemed panelist. This is Harold Marrero. He is the COO of Safe Schools and executive producer of Rainbow Roundtable. Harold, any first thoughts about LGBTQ and media?
Well, we've come a long way, but there's still so much more for us to do. So I'm excited to be talking about this very important subject, and I'm sure that our diverse panel today will have a lot to say about it.
Absolutely. And now we have Tiffany Williams. She's a social media expert, host of the television show Tiffany Explains It All, and the director of outreach for Safe Schools. Tiffany, I imagine you're passionate about LGBTQ+ in the media?
Extremely passionate. It's super important. As someone who is a bisexual woman, there has been some representation of women like me, but viewed in a more promiscuous, scandalous kind of way.
Ooh.
And we can be that, but we can be so much more. So I look forward to talking about it today.
I look forward to it too. And then we have Eddie Mora. Eddie is a prominent social media influencer, host of the TV show The Tea with Eddie, and a Safe Schools TV producer. Eddie, any thoughts on the tea of LGBTQ+ and media?
I feel like we all watch TV, right? But we all want to feel represented. And I feel like there's still a lot of storylines that need to be told that are binge-worthy for us to watch. So, I'm excited for that in the future.
Awesome. And now we have Harrison C. Davies. Harrison is the marketing manager at Bottom Line Concepts. Harrison, can you tell us a little bit more about Bottom Line Concepts?
Well, Bottom Line Concepts has been in business for 15 years. It was founded as a contingency-based financial firm specializing in small businesses, which I think is a huge outlet for the LGBTQ community. Under BLC, big exciting announcement. We recently launched our partnership with Shark Tank's Mr. Wonderful, so that's been a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz surrounding that. Recently pushed it to a much higher degree. Really excited to report on that. That doesn't keep me busy enough. Serve on the alumni board on my alma mater, Miami Country Day School, where I went for 13 years, and I'm a committee member at the Miami Children's Museum and Ellie's Army. So I'm just excited for you guys to have me here.
Busy guy.
Yeah.
And finally, we have Taya Harlan. She is the Public Relations Director of Reflect. Taya, can you tell us a little bit more about Reflect?
So Reflect Collective is a nonprofit in Miami, and we help queer trans people of color who are domestic and sexual violence survivors. And we do different programming throughout the year. But our 2 biggest programs are our queer QTPOC grant, where we help them, and then Queer Fest, which is a variety show every April.
That's awesome. You do important work in our community. Thanks, Taya.
Thank you.
Our next segment is tools and resources. Here we'll explore examples of LGBTQ plus representation that showcase authentic and diverse portrayals in today's media landscape. In this segment, we highlight 7 shows and films that showcase authentic representations of LGBTQ plus experiences. The first is Moonlight. A critical and commercial success, Moonlight is a poignant portrayal of a young Black man grappling with his identity and sexuality. The film's narrative spans 3 stages of Chiron's life, exploring themes of masculinity, vulnerability, and acceptance. Its historic Oscar win marked a significant milestone in LGBTQ plus representation in cinema. Then we have The Mitchells vs. the Machines. This animated film subtly weaves LGBTQ plus representation into its storyline. Katie, the protagonist, is a quirky, aspiring filmmaker who eventually reveals her queerness. Her character is voiced by Abby Jacobson, adding authenticity to the portrayal. The film's inclusive approach is a progressive step for mainstream children's entertainment. Then we have Rebelde. The reboot of this iconic Mexican telenovela introduces new characters and queer narratives, moving beyond the original limitations. Characters like Andy and Luca explore their sexuality and relationships, offering a fresh and diverse perspective to a new generation of viewers. Then we have We Are Lady Parts. This British comedy series revolves around an all-Muslim women's punk band. The show is groundbreaking in its representation of Muslim women and includes a queer storyline with drummer Aisha. It's a refreshing portrayal that challenges stereotypes and offers insight into diverse experiences within the Muslim community. Then we have Steven Universe. This animated series is lauded for its progressive representation of gender and relationships. The gems, being genderless, engage in relationships and fusions that challenge traditional notions of gender and sexuality. The show's exploration of these themes in a family-friendly format has been influential in normalizing diverse identities for younger audiences. Then we have Severance. This dystopian drama, while primarily focused on the concept of work-life balance, unexpectedly includes a compelling queer love story. The relationship between Irving and Bert is a rare depiction of same-sex love between older characters, adding depth and diversity to the show's narrative. Finally, we have Yellowjackets. This psychological thriller features complex female characters, including Thaisa, who's a lesbian. Her sexuality is woven into both her teenage and adult storylines, influencing her actions and relationships. The show is notable for its raw and honest portrayal of its characters, including the exploration of queer identities. These shows and films play a vital role in advancing LGBTQ+ representation in media, offering diverse and complex portrayals that move beyond stereotypes and tokenism. They not only entertain but also educate and inspire accepting and understanding. Panelists, which of these examples most resonates with you? How do these shows and films contribute to a broader understanding and acceptance of LGBTQ+ identities?
Well, I'll go first on, since you mentioned Steven Universe, and that was like one of my favorite shows. I loved when they started to explain the relationship of how Garnet, which is one of the main characters that helped raise this human child, who's also like half human, half gem, and they explain like their origin story and finding out that it was like 2 gems that fused together, and like in their storyline, fusing together is like, it's okay, but like only for like a couple of hours, and it's not like forever, but like they just can't deny each other. They like eventually start falling in love with each other and they fuse, and it's kind of like this like forbidden thing. It's like, what? You can't be doing that. And they're just like, but we love each other. And it was like interesting because there's also like, you get to see even heartbreak, even with gems. One of the characters, they have to fuse together, but when they fuse together with this other gem, it becomes really toxic when they're together. Like they become together, it's very toxic, like union. but like one of them is like really addicted to their fusion. And I'm like, this is so like underlining how relationships can be. Like you want to be with somebody and you don't even realize that they're very toxic, you know, and like there's just so much layering on top of that. And the fact that they're genderless, there's not like you know, there's no female or male in that universe, you know, and even like the father of the main character, he's like very openly like, he's like, oh, you know, just go with the flow. He's like a long-haired, like just 80s like old rocker. And I love like the concept of like the show of talking about like chosen family, because eventually this child who nobody basically wanted, because it's like you're half human, half crystal, you shouldn't really exist, but he does. And so, but everyone who meets him ends up falling like in love with him, not in like in a romantic sense, but like they can't help but like him. Yeah. And isn't that what making like a chosen family is about? Like you get along with people and you're just kind of like, I want to hang out with you more often. You seem like a really cool person, you know? And there's just, that's something that like the youth that don't have that supportive system at home. I mean, it's great when you do have family that support you, and I think that's a blessing in and of itself, but not a lot of students have that, not a lot of kids have that. And so getting to see that and maybe hoping that, okay, maybe one day like I'll have something like that, you know, later down the line.
Yeah. For me, the show that resonated with me that we just went through is Severance. You know, I was watching the show with my husband, and this character just happened to be gay, and he was an older guy, and he was in love with another older guy in the show. Then, you know, I'm not gonna do a spoiler alert like Tiffany over here, spoiler, but it was so, you had no idea, and then it happens, and you're like, oh, this is so refreshing, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the story. It doesn't do anything, but it is portrayed in such a loving and caring way that it's like you're seeing every representation, like young, middle, and old, in that space, and it's not a big deal. You know, no one is dying. No one is, you know, there's nothing big going on. They just love each other, and that was pretty nice. I really enjoyed that.
What I like about that is that it's an honest portrayal of like the LGBT on screen. What might be controversial is that I hate when TV shows reboot an old series and then they force the representation, they force a gay character or anything. Yeah. And it's like, might as well not add it, because if it wasn't there in the beginning, you're just doing it to get more views and then just getting our money, you know?
Yeah.
So,
you have an example?
Well, they mentioned Rebelde, but what I like about that reboot is that it was a different plot from the original one. So it gave an original storyline. But if they would have made like the Disney reboots, like let's say, and they add a gay character for no reason, then I think that's forced. And it's like, just make a new storyline for a gay character, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And not just add it just to add it and have that bonus.
Rainbow
story,
capitalism.
You know? Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But don't make Hercules gay.
Something I've always been, I want to hear your thoughts, because I'm unsettled about it. But what are your thoughts about non-queer actors playing queer roles? Like Brokeback Mountain, as an example.
I think it's a little bit complicated. I personally feel a little uncomfortable when I see non-trans women, particularly historically, a lot of men, like cis men, have played trans women. And that makes me very uncomfortable, because my life is not the same as a cis man. I go through completely different experiences, and I think that should be respected. And with that, I think that should be in media. I do wanted to mention the media that I liked in the lineup that we had. I think Moonlight is a phenomenal film. I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times. I've had to watch it because I'm a women and gender studies student, and we talk about it in probably most of my queer classes that I've taken. It is now become somewhat of a standard for academia when studying queer films, and it's such a beautiful film. I personally didn't like it the first time I watched it because I was looking for more of a romance story, but I love it now because it's so much more than that. It's about the intersectionalities and of Chiron and his experience as being a young Black man in Miami, where we live, And it's such an amazing movie, and it definitely deserved that Oscar.
Despite what was awarded originally.
Yeah, that was a mess. I was like,
but
that is a mess.
I'm still so excited. It was almost like, oh God, y'all went in that direction again for the, 81st time.
Yeah.
And then to have a movie like Moonlight kind of go up and grab it, rectify it.
Yeah, I think it was La La Land originally.
Yeah, it was yes.
And I was like,
La La Land.
the one movie that's been sold a million.
Yeah. Film, and it was quite exciting to see that kind of rectified. And also, I think if anything, it brought more publicity and to Moonlight, where a lot more people were watching. And forget it winning Best Picture, it won Best Picture in a amazing, interesting phenomenon. So.
Yeah. To answer also what you asked, and it's I don't know, because acting is such a it's like an art. It's an art form.
It is an art form.
Yeah, I know. But in being an art form, I don't think it really matters who the person behind that is, because they're portraying a whole nother person through their work, through their art. But I feel like I will be okay with it only if you can have like a trans person playing a heterosexual character. And when you have like a trans woman playing a heterosexual woman, that's great, because then there's equality. Everything, it's not just one-sided. It's everybody is able to play whatever character they feel that they can play the best, and it doesn't matter who the person is behind the mask. It's all about the person that they're playing, which is the mask. So I think if that's the case, then it will be fine. But I do feel like there should be more people playing, like more LGBTQ plus people playing LGBTQ plus characters, because those roles usually go to, cisgendered people, and that's not. I don't think that's right.
Like I said, I think it really depends. Like sexuality, it's a little different, because but a gender, that's a whole nother different experience. I think sexuality, both are more fluid, but gender is more of like a complete identity, if that makes sense. Where sexuality, we make it our identity, but it's not you're living that life of that sex. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, what about the Danish girl? That was probably considered recently a fairly missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And the individuals involved, and Eddie Redmayne, who was nominated for has gone back and said, that was, not, and that was 1 year before Moonlight.
I know.
So interesting.
I know a lot of people, not a lot, but I've heard some people in the trans community also have issues with trans women playing drag queen characters. I know that they did a Fox special of Rocky Horror in 2016, I think it is. And I don't know, I don't remember, but I believe it was a really big trans woman. I don't know if it might have been Laverne Cox as well. I'm not sure.
I think.
Yeah, but she played Frankenfurter, and a lot of people were very uncomfortable with that. And I kind of understood their point, but I'm also kind of because with older films, our terminology has changed so much, even in the past 20, 30 years when it comes to the queer community. So I think with stories like that, they are very fluid.
Yeah.
And I definitely, I agree with both of you, what you were saying earlier. I do agree with Taya in the sense that I do think if the character is a trans woman or a trans man, it should be played by someone who is trans. But I also understand and agree with you, Harold, in the saying that as an actor, acting is an art form. I think an example for what I'm going to bring up is, oh my gosh, I can't remember now how to say it. The one that has the three drag queens.
Tu Wong Fu.
They were all straight men that were playing drag queens, granted, but they all took the role seriously. They weren't making a mockery of these people that are real. There are real drag queens that that is just who they are. And I think there is a line when it comes to playing characters that you have to basically do it. If you're going to do it like do your research, like go into the community, talk to people, get to like pick their brains. Because if you're going to portray this character, you want to do it to the best justice that you can do, you know? And even there will be times where you'll be given, you know, a role, like if someone's like, oh, we want you to play a transgender man or woman. And that at that point is the actor's point is like, okay, do I really want to take this role, or should I actually just not say no and be like, you should actually hire someone who's actually part of that community to act out this role if you want real representation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like again, I go back to Grey's Anatomy because I feel like Grey's Anatomy really did start bringing these queer characters in, but they missed an opportunity with Georgie. Like Georgie is a gay actor who was then portraying this straight person with Callie, and then Callie becomes a lesbian and bisexual, and then you know, Georgie has to leave the show because of like some backstage drama with his queerness, and that to me was a missed opportunity because they could have completely made Georgie, you know, into the gay character of the movie, of the show. And I do feel like it's at least it seems like it was easier to introduce lesbian characters, like two women together, than it was introducing gay characters at first. Because only Grey's Anatomy only recently had you know, space for gay characters. Before it was just, you know, bisexual and lesbian women. And that's a missed opportunity. But I understand society maybe wasn't ready for two guys. They were just ready for two girls, and there's a whole nother, we can do a whole nother roundtable on why that is. But yeah, that was, I think, missed opportunity there.
One point I want to bring up is that it's hard to it's not fair to speculate on the actor's sexuality, because the boys from Heartstopper, the fans got obsessed with one of them, and he ended up coming out later, but he was outed basically. And then when Red, White, and Royal Blue also came out, people found out that one of the actors, they were hating on them because why are they both straight and playing gay characters? But turns out one was closeted, was married, and then the fans found that out and then just outed him. So I feel like it's pretty unfair on the actors to just out actors on their sexuality. I feel like it's an art form, and let them do what they have to do. At the end of the day, they're all theater kids, so you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
They're all queer.